This is it.
Adrian, you ready?
Yep.
Mark, you ready?
Yes.
Brian, you ready?
No. Yes.
I don't know what's happening. Okay. I will kick us off. Hi. You dork.
I gotta close the store.
In your warehouse.
Yeah. Damn forklifts won't shut up.
Perfect. How dare you?
What did I do?
Making fun of my forklift?
I was not making fun of it at all.
Just taking note.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 19 of the Pixel Perspective podcast. My name is JJ, and as you can see, I have a couple of special guests here with me. First of all, though, let me introduce my friend and co-host, Adrian. Adrian, what's up, man?
Hey, howdy, hey. That's what I say.
Enough. That's wish that hadn't happened. All right, so those of you who used to listen to, or maybe you have recently discovered my old podcast, The Frozen North, you will see two faces that you may not have seen except on our old website, just in picture form. If you're looking at my screen, which more than likely are, because I'm the one recording it, and that's where it's going to be coming from, you will see Brian in the top left. Brian, what's up, man?
Hey, everybody. And now you all see why it was a podcast form. I have a real face for radio.
Is somebody who was going to make the joke. I knew it. And my lower left, right below Brian, let's just make that clear that it's on the show. Mark, what's up, man?
Hey, I played a video game this year, so I was invited on the podcast.
I'm quite frankly disappointed.
I'm very disappointed with
Is
what
anybody else disappointed?
Mark, what are you doing?
Assume everybody knows why we're disappointed at what Mark just did, unless you were not a previous listener to the show of the Frozen North. Mark, we're just gonna move past it.
We got blank face Mark.
That's right. Hi, I'm Mark.
Oh no!
Is that what you wanted me to do?
Come on.
Oh no!
Are you kidding? 100 episodes.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you want me to do.
Howdy, y'all. Oh my God.
Oh.
He completely forgot.
Yeah.
Has it been that long? Man.
Been like 100 years.
You remember at the end of the show when we finished, like after episode 100, and I took you guys out to dinner and we went to that Brazilian steakhouse, and I was like, we should do this once a year, get together, and we just haven't done it since.
Yeah.
I would be.
Although
like
COVID hit, so.
I am, though.
But I mean, once a year. Goodbye.
Oh, remember how much meat they were shoving at us, Mark?
Yeah, I almost died.
Yeah.
So hey, what the hell have you guys?
So you're not going to do it. So you're just not going to do it.
He's not going to do it.
I was going to save it until the very end.
Okay.
Oh,
do we ruin it for you, or are you just saying that now because we caught you?
Hey,
little column A.
this is what Brian calls a pro gamer move.
That's actually true. Actually happened last night.
That's true. Yeah. What have you guys?
I must
Brian,
say,
we'll start
look,
with you. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I must say though, I'm excited to be on the show. I was a fan of the Frozen North for like the majority of the show. So it's really exciting to be talking to you guys and to have you guys on. It's awesome. And I was really excited to hear the howdy y'all. So you have to give it to us at the end of the show. You have to.
I'll do it.
I can't believe he forgot.
He's
I still threw out Rolodex of all the bits.
You have to understand, in Mark's defense, and I'm being serious about this. The three of us were up very late last night playing Star Citizen, and Mark had to be at work this morning as well. So he is running on very little sleep, and he's extremely tired, but he's still being gracious enough to do this with us. So I'll give him a pass on that.
I'm happy to be here. I'm energized.
Woo!
This isn't TFN. You're allowed to. We'll let those go, so it's okay.
All right.
Brian, we'll start with you, man. What have you been up to since TFN ended?
So I became Emperor of the World, as you can see behind me.
Yeah.
No,
I asked about that.
Yeah, you know, no big deal. Been doing the same old thing. Video games, work, sleep, playing with my puppy dog. Really, that's about it. Yeah, I'm a lifelong gamer, so you know, you'll ask me in another 15 years what I've been up to. I'll be like, well, I've been playing games.
Yeah,
I've been playing a lot of video
all of us
games.
will have that answer.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm really in 15 years. I'm excited for Star Citizen to
speaking
come out.
of gamers, you know, I was thinking about this the other day. This is really funny to me, and I'm probably the only one that's gonna think this is funny. But Adrian is actually a combination of all three of us, and it cracks me up. He plays the same games that I do.
Okay.
So he's a fan of the JRPGs and story stuff. He plays just as many as Brian does, and he finishes as many as Mark does.
Oh, nice.
There we go.
So,
That's awesome.
Dude, he is the amalgamation. He is the perfect like being.
You know, you just need
I
like.
was thinking about that the other day. I was like,
video
oh
game.
yeah, it's kind of a little bit of everything. Wow, okay. I just thought that was
Those are all true, and I'm proud of you for coming up with that. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Honestly, it makes me jealous in a lot of cases with the amount of games that he actually gets to. Like, I wish that I could stay, like, remember what happened in one game and then move to another one, and then be able to go back at some point. So he's able to do that. I unfortunately cannot because my brain is just dumb.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Mark, what you been up to, man?
Man, I've been up to like recently or since
the show ended. Since the show ended.
You know, I did
it's been
that other
years.
podcast for a while, and then I realized I don't like editing, so I stopped.
Hey, I know how you feel.
And as JJ knows, because he was involved, we just put a lot of work into making a short. Do I call it a film? A short film, I guess.
Yeah, I would.
Which is coming out in a little while. I don't know all the details yet, but it's coming out in a little while. So that's really it.
Hey, I will keep everybody posted. I will release whatever info Mark wants me to release. But needless to say, it's a project that Mark is working on with his wife, and it's really, really cool. So just look for some info coming from me in the future. And yeah, so we'll leave it there for now.
Is it a comedy or a drama?
Mostly comedy.
Good.
Yeah.
Dramedy?
I love comedies.
Not quite a dramedy.
Okay. So mostly comedy with some sprinkles.
I would say like 90-10.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but it's fun. Well, shoot, man. What the hell have we been playing? Who wants to start? We got 4 people here. Who the hell wants to start on what they've been playing lately?
Mark.
Oh my God.
Mark, what you been playing?
I'll tell you what I've been playing. I've been playing Star Citizen.
Yep.
Yes, you
with
have.
JJ and Brian. It's been fantastic. It's like you only crash once or twice a day, and usually your ship doesn't blow up now for no reason.
Yep.
You can actually earn money. It's cool.
That's what we were playing last night for what? We played 4 or 5 hours straight.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We went surface mining on a moon.
And then we did that sweet space mission where I was in the fighter in your ship and I launched out the back, and then you guys fought while I flew around and fought, and it was really cool.
Yeah, I don't think
fun.
Tell me this, for somebody who has no idea what this game is about, yet I'm blown up with messages on that Facebook chat group.
I was going to apologize for that. Like, I think we kind of just took this over, and he's just along for the ride now.
I was like, he definitely turned off notifications.
No, it's fine, but I'm so completely lost on whatever you guys are talking about. So you're gonna have to explain what this game is.
Had you never heard of Star Citizen before?
Heard of it. I know nothing about it.
It was promised 2011, something like
12.
that.
It's
12.
Its initial Kickstarter campaign happened in 2012, but then they basically what happened was they launched it with a modest goal, and then a release date of 2014. But I don't know where these angel backers came from, but they blew so far past their like, you know how that old Kickstarter had their budget and then stretch goals.
Yeah,
they were on like stretch goal like 40, so Chris Roberts decided to go ahead and just open up the scope. He just realized, oh, there's like, I'm getting millions and millions of dollars for this. So it actually started actual development. A lot of people say it's been in development since 2012. It's not true. It's actually been in development since about 2014. So
it basically
that doesn't explain.
Just you're creating a life as a spacefarer. That's it. You are out in outer space. You are flying from planet to moon to space station to asteroid belt, random spots in space, hunting down pirates, doing bounty hunts, landing on planets, exploring caves, mining in those caves, mining on the asteroids, dogfighting in space, dogfighting over a planet. You're going to massive cities on several different planets, space stations that are near said planets. There's so much to it. It's unbelievable. And I still, even with how well it runs, like, and I say well in very loose quotes, I'm still not fully 100% convinced that it's not a grift. But damn it, if I haven't had a great time so far with it. It's still a hell of a lot of fun. And if you've got a computer that'll run it, it's I'm
curious.
It's a blast if you have people to play with.
Yeah. I'm curious about it. I want to check it out. I just don't know if I have
Did you
the time
ever
to devote to it.
play Freelancer, Wing Commander, any of the X-Wing, TIE Fighter games back in the day? Did you ever get into any of those?
Not heavily. I played them. I'm into like the space shooters though, just not something really in depth.
You ever play Mass Effect?
Never. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I played all through.
Oh, okay. Imagine Mass Effect, but you actually get to fly your ships and everything like that. There's no loading screens. Everything I just mentioned is all seamless from place to place. And it's like 1,000 times more immersive, and like, because you can go anywhere, do anything. Brian literally has a ship where he has like, there's a chessboard that you can play chess on, but it also has where if you take one of the chess pieces and put it on this little slot in his wall, a little compartment opens up, and then you can smuggle stuff in the ship. That way, when you get scanned by the cops who will stop you mid like quantum flight to see if you're carrying anything illegal and will hunt you down if you are, you can hide it from them and then keep going on your way. It's ridiculous how detailed this game is.
Are the cops other players or are they NPCs?
They're NPCs, but you can actually like be bad enough to where other players will get bounties for you. And then you get put in jail. And my God, jail is a whole other thing that you can do. Like, you literally get put into a jail cell on this space station, and you can get out of several different ways. Somebody can, like, you can have some people come and rescue you by they break into the freaking space station and like shoot all the guards and you know, knock them out or whatever, and break you out and get you out of there. Or you can somehow sneak your way out and break yourself out of there and steal a ship to leave the station. Not only that, though, if you do, that doesn't mean your name is going to be cleared. So what you can also do is when you're leaving the station, you have to hack into their terminals to clear your name while fighting off the other guards that are coming after you to get you. I mean, it's ridiculous how much
it sounds ridiculous. It sounds
and that's
cool,
why it's
though.
taking so long, though, because it's still an alpha, and it's like super buggy, like crazy buggy. It's more than playable. I mean, we still have a great time with it. There are quite a few crashes, you know, occasionally and stuff, but they focus way too much on, we want to add this. Ooh, now we want to add this and make it as detailed as possible.
That's what I call it.
But they need to freaking work on the bugs. Like I keep making this point, like in our chat. And I don't want to spend the whole show talking about freaking Star Citizen, because believe me, we could. But I see on their website, like, they have merchandise and stuff like that. The game's not even out yet, and they're offering like t-shirts and hats and mugs and all frisbees and whatever crap they have. And I'm like, can you freaking just use the money to fix the damn bugs and make it to where I can request a landing at a space station without my ship exploding just from the freaking radio call? Happened earlier today. It's just so that's why I'm just kind of like, I don't know if this will ever come out, but I can't say I haven't gotten my money's worth, because I definitely have.
Yeah.
So, you know, how mad can you really be? It is definitely
you sound
worth checking
very
out.
Excited about it.
No, it's great, but these guys can tell you I've gotten extremely frustrated many times. So yeah.
All warranted.
Yep.
Our Citizen, folks. Yeah, that's what Mark's been playing. Brian, what about you?
Whoa!
Sorry.
Wow.
What? Are you going to double the amount of games
Yeah.
you played?
I was going to say,
Whoa!
I also beat a game called Outer Wilds
Oh, you did. Yeah, that's
a
right.
while back, and it's one of my all-time favorite games. It's incredible.
Wow.
I would tell anybody to
Oh.
check it out. Give it a try.
Yeah, I
That's
would
the
say-
game that came out at the same time as Outer Worlds, and I was not able to distinguish between the two.
Yes.
I played Outer
Unfortunate
Worlds,
naming.
too.
Yeah.
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 I thought they were the
Um,
same thing for a while.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
unfortunate naming. Yeah. Outer Wilds is it's definitely one that I just have to say go play it. Go
Yeah.
play it and experience it.
Cool. Mark, is that it?
That's all I need to get into.
Okay. All right. Brian, what about you, sir?
We've already gone over Star Citizen. I have been playing that with you guys. I'm the unfortunate soul that's got $1,200 into that back into that game, so I like to Sherpa people
That's
along.
So crazy.
But
You were doing $10 a month for a while, though, right?
yeah, I did subscribe for a little bit, and then
Yeah.
also I ended up. My goal was when I started back in the project was to stop at 1,000. I ended up going 100 and about $80 past that, which it is what it is. I haven't spent a dime on it in a couple of years now, though. So, but on a different note, Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I am almost done with 3, so I'm almost wrapped that up, and that's really all I have been playing lately. I've been doing basically getting my space fix. So Mass Effect 3 Legendary or Mass Effect Legendary Trilogy, and then Star Citizen on the side.
Solid. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adrian, what about you, sir?
Well, I finished Resident Evil 8, and that is a fantastic Resident Evil game. It's up there as one of my favorites for sure. It takes everything that was great about 7 and makes it better. So there's not much you could say about it other than that. Like, it takes the ridiculousness of 4, meshes it with the gameplay of 7, and it's just constant things coming at you. You know, like if you've ever played 4, I know JJ, you haven't played it yet, but on Resident Evil 4, they've got all those crazy enemies and bosses and things like that. And there's always something new coming at you. And it's a real fast-paced game. That's how 8 is to the extreme. You are moving from one area to the next area, and they're all themed differently, and there's a boss at the end of it that matches the theme, and it's incredible. It's one of those games that you just can't put down. And I loved every minute of it. A lot of twists and turns story-wise too. So be ready for that. Brian, have you played that one?
Beating it. Yep.
Yeah. What'd you think of it? You like it?
Yeah. I pacing was almost perfect.
Yeah, it was.
I didn't like a few of the areas, but my only gripes about it were a few of just classic Capcom tropes. Other than that, 7 was a little bit too much horror for me when I played it. And I think they kind of hit a good balance in 8. So I prefer 8. I would prefer them to do more 8s than 7s. So yeah, back on the right track for me for sure.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah. 7 was a scary game. It was hard to play because it was so scary.
And you could like see what they were doing. It was when VR was big, and they were like, "Well, let's make a really scary VR game." And
yeah,
as much as
They
I
did.
love Resident Evil, it's not a horror game in that sense where it's like it's campy. It's supposed to be campy. It's supposed to be
Yep.
kind of out of this world.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I agree with that. Yeah, it was a great game.
Mhm.
Other than that, let's see. Man, I've just been playing lots of things here and there. I've been doing a lot of game hunting lately, and so anytime I find something new, I'll pop it in, play it for an hour or so at night, and go on to something else. I don't have anything that I'm fully committed to at the moment, except for maybe Wild Arms, Alter Code F. I'm still whittling my way through that game. It's going to be a slodge. I need to get, so I set up this way to stream from my PC to like an iPad or something, so I can play it as I'm winding down, because that's how I like to play. And I found some pretty cool apps that will sync up to my NVIDIA card and allow me to stream. So I've got I've got Alter Code F running on an emulator and just streaming it to my iPad while I'll play it. So it's cool.
Cool.
Yeah, nothing really major. I did finally beat Phoenix Rising. That game took
Oh,
me
okay.
about
Yeah.
6 months to get through, but I finally got through it. And
Really?
yeah, it's a large game. The way I play games is, I'll play an hour or two here and there, and then I'll move to something else and I'll come back to it. It's rare that I play a game and just stick with it entirely and not play anything else. So it's not uncommon for a game to take me 6 months to a year to get through.
I have to apologize. I thought you were referring to a game called Advent Rising.
You
I've never heard of that.
Mark,
Original Xbox.
Mark. Why would somebody play
remember
Advent
Advent
Rising?
I want to get it and play it now.
Why though? There's no sequel coming, and that cliffhanger at the end is just like it just ruins it.
And the whole
I
game's
remember
broken.
hearing that, yeah. Yep.
Sorry.
Cool. No, you're good.
What about you, JJ?
Several things. I finished from the list, my list of 20 games for the year. I finished 2 more. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is officially done and in the books. Loved the story, loved the characters, but I was not crazy about the gameplay. And it honestly isn't even because I was talking to Brian about this the other day. It's not even necessarily because I'm not crazy about stealth games. It's more because there was so much cinematic stuff in there and so much story that it was almost like playing a Telltale game in that respect, where I'd be watching a cutscene for, half hour or so, and then I'd be, oh crap, now I have to play, kind of one of those things. And I was just really invested into what was happening, and then I'd have to go through the areas and be like, oh, okay, fine, whatever. And so I, overall it was okay. The more games in the series I play, the more I realize I'm not a huge, massive
It's not for you.
Kojima
Yeah.
fan in general. I can see the genius in there, and I think it's really, really creative in a lot of areas. I just don't know that it's necessarily for me. But considering 4 is the only one I have left to play, I'm gonna do it
Get ready
Okay.
for that. If you like cutscenes.
Yeah. If you think 3 had a lot of cutscenes,
Great.
4
Yeah.
just
Oh,
is
boy.
nothing but cutscenes.
Awesome. I also finished Suikoden Tactics on PS2, which
Wow.
I thought was a prequel to 4, but it actually takes place in the beginning before 4, and then there's a jump where it goes to afterwards. So it actually, for the most part, takes place after 4, which I thought was kind of cool. And I was really glad about that, because I was like, man, I would rather play whichever game takes place first chronologically, but the fact that you can load your save file over to Tactics from Suikoden 4 means I have to play in this order. So I was a little worried about that, but then it worked out. And my God, if you have a Suikoden 4 save, and you get to bring your character over, the game is a joke after that. He's stupid overpowered. Anyways, Suikoden's great series. There wasn't enough characters in that one. They did not have 108. It was only like 65 or something
Shame.
like that.
Keep
Shame.
going down.
It's really
Keep going
really
down on
sad.
those characters.
Get this guy out of here.
Get down.
But-
Get down there.
I am because I played it, I'm so excited to play Suikoden 5. I cannot wait to get into that game, in the coming months or next year, whenever I get to it, soon as possible, hopefully. And then lately, obviously, Star Citizen, and I have been playing Assassin's Creed Syndicate on the PS5, which, if any of you know, that is one of the few games on the PS5 that doesn't run very well. But I'm like, I don't want to hook up my PS4 just for this. So my strategy was to just go in, run through the game, just do the main story missions and call it. Problem though is that honestly, it's really not that bad. Like, the only issues that are there is lighting. There's like some buildings will blink at you a little bit, and there's some graphical issues and everything. Gameplay is still smooth as hell. The cutscenes all work fine. Everything plays and runs well. And I also really, really like it. Like, it's really good. And I'm just enjoying the whole like gang aspect of it. And you just, like, at the end of conquering an area, you have a big old gang fight and stuff. And it's just such a blast to play. But I really am super excited to get into Origins afterwards. Super stoked to finally get to that one. Because that's when the big RPG style open world ones started up. So, and then Final Fantasy 14, I've still been playing quite a bit of that. I've been doing actually a ton on that game. And I'm really, really still enjoying the hell out of it. I love that game. Leviathan server, anybody plays? Hi. But a whole bunch of stuff. Finished a few, and looking forward to.
I know we're
doing
well
it.
past Suikoden Tactics, but I have a couple
Yeah.
questions for you in that game.
What's up?
How long is it, first of all?
I think it took me about 30 hours,
Okay, so
and that was with quite a bit of grinding too.
is it?
Yeah,
How deep is the combat? Because I'm looking for a good
Not.
strategy or tactical. Oh, okay, so,
it's not. Have you ever played Shining Force?
yeah,
It's about that
I
deep.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking
And
for
it's
something
about that
deep,
forgiving
like,
too. Like if you die,
it?
you can start the battle over. You keep everything, all the experience and stuff. It's not like it's pretty simple. There's not a lot of depth to it. There is some, but it's not like Final Fantasy Tactics deep. But yeah.
Do you have a good, well-rounded cast of not characters but jobs?
There are no jobs in that game. Every character is different. So there's like 65 characters. Each of them have their own different style. They're
Unique.
you're gonna have spear users and like people who throw knives and bow users, swords. Everybody's a little bit different, and they all have their own special abilities. Not to mention, if you know Suikoden, you can equip runes to people, and you have abilities with that. You're also manipulating the terrain that you're on as you play, which is kind of a neat aspect. Honestly, like I feel like I'm saying quite a bit, but it's really, really like basic when you actually get into it and start playing it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, Mark, have you played Tactics?
No.
Oh, okay. Because he hated 4.
Don't
That's
ask
why.
him if he's played the game.
No, but it's Suikoden.
I
You
So,
played
sounded
5.
so offended.
yeah, right.
4 made me mad, and
Yeah.
I
No,
wanted
I don't
more
think
of the Harmonia storyline. I wanted to go into the future, not the
Understandable.
past.
The Tactics does mention it because the main character and his crew that he's with, his father actually came from up north.
Oh,
From there, so there are quite a few references to that. So but I mean, you're not playing there, so.
Mhm.
You know, on the character thing, a tactics-based game seems like the perfect game to have 108 characters.
No way.
It does.
in a game
it
like
does.
that, where the biggest battles, you have 12 members in your party that are fighting.
Mhm.
I mean, that's pretty damn solid to pick from. But
Just can't back it. That's too many characters, man. Too many.
all right, guys. So we got a couple of things on the docket today. We actually are going to kind of structure this a little bit like our old TFN episodes as well. So, and I sent you your notes, so you got those sitting in front of you. I'm sure that brought back a whole bunch of feels, didn't it, guys? Come on, it did for
The
me. setting 'em up.
feels.
That's for sure.
It did.
This is
Um,
so new to me. This is like foreign land.
Yeah, this
Notes.
is literally what we used to look at. Only JJ's gone into the color coding
I
aspect of things. Which
I
is,
used to print them out and give them to him.
That's right.
Back in the day. So what we would usually do is we would actually have Brian do the news. We're not going to mess with that. Oh, I don't really care.
Brian, what's the news?
Well, there's a lot of games not coming out anytime soon, so buckle down.
Save some money.
So I know how we can transition though to our first topic. What we would typically do on the Frozen North is we would do a topic and have a discussion, and then we would follow it up with a top 5 list that we would choose. Just a random top 5, completely arbitrary, whatever. In the very beginning of the Frozen North, I've been going back and listening to our old episodes all the way through, and I'm in the like mid 70s right now. So I've listened to quite a few of them again. We like the first few episodes, I was like, I want to get some transition noises. I don't know what I want to put in. So when we go to a new segment, we're going to like make a noise and it's going to like play when that goes on. So, but until we do that, we'll just make the noises with our mouth. And so we just make random bullcrap noises. And that literally stuck through all 100 episodes that we did. We just never got any actual things. So, Brian, why don't you give us a noise that represents E3 2021? Yeah,
Accurate.
yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that.
I don't know anybody who's not feeling that.
Yeah. So we're not going to do like a massive deep dive or anything into E3. It's, for one, it's like what, 3-4 weeks behind. So most of you guys know what it's been, what's going on. If you watch my channel, I did a video where I talked about a bunch of stuff, and also did another video last week where I talked about Square Enix, and I was really out of breath after I finished filming that one. So but these guys haven't seen it yet because when we're recording this, that video will be out tomorrow. But it is quite the journey into despair.
I can hear it
now. But I figured we could at least like talk about like anything that stuck out to us, anything we're looking forward to, anything that disappointed us, as well as like what we thought of E3 being in this digital format, not having Sony there, and everybody kind of like taking a cue from Nintendo, most of them because they're forced to because of, Corona and stuff. But like being like, hey, we're gonna do an online presentation and just do that. So anybody want to throw out any thoughts that they have so far on there?
Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
I love that it's all online. I love that I can just queue it up and play it at 2x speed, skip through everything, and just see the stuff I actually want to see. So for me, because I'm not soaking it all in, I'm just skipping through to find the highlights.
Yeah, you could have done that
fine.
before too.
Well, but nevertheless, I guess for me, okay, it makes no difference. How about that? That's less interesting, though.
No, I understand.
Classic Mark.
No, I'm because that was my first thought. It was like when they said they were going to this all digital format, I was like, what really is the big difference? Like before, if you miss the presentation live, you just watch it later anyways. And most of the time you're watching from your computer, even if it is live. So what the hell's the big difference? But then I went, and it was kind of like if you're there and you feel the energy and all that stuff, knowing that isn't happening and that people aren't going to get to experience that in the future did have a little bit of an effect on me. And kind of, I don't know, Adrian, you've been to one as well. Did you kind of feel the same way?
Honestly, this E3 was kind of, it just went right past me. I missed pretty much everything. I caught up on the announcements after the fact or as they were being made through Twitter. But honestly, I was not interested in the first day. It was what Ubisoft and Gearbox, right? And then Square Enix was the next day. I didn't watch those, and I wasn't really enthused enough to watch the rest of it. So I missed out on the Xbox One, which I hear is probably the better one of the presentations.
Microsoft One is my favorite, probably. Nintendo's is also really good, but those two beyond that.
Yeah. Well, and I went and watched the trailers and saw the announcements, and I was kind of okay with that. I wish there was more to look forward to, but it just wasn't for me. I don't know. I wasn't feeling it from the get-go. Let's just say that.
Sure. I'm curious as to what you guys thought of, because I honestly I forgot to mention this game in my video that I did. But Elden Ring, everybody's been looking so forward to that. And everybody, like when it got announced, everybody was freaking out about it. And the trailer got played, and the streams that I watched, people were still, going nuts about it and everything like that. Not to the degree that I was expecting, though. I thought it looked kind of bland, quite frankly.
No.
I thought it was like so Dark Souls. That's it. That's all.
That's all I need to see.
Yeah,
that's all I need to see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
No, I know, but it just seemed very, very just samesies to me. I didn't think anything like I have to play this before I play Dark Souls 3. Like me, I'm just like, I still got Dark Souls 3 to play, and that seems just as good as this. So
for the people like me who are diehard Dark Souls fans, played through all of them multiple times, like just to see them still carrying that on and still releasing new things that look and feel the same. Like I've never played a game series where I don't feel like I can get enough of it. I'm always excited for the new one. I'm always excited to play the new one. And this one was it was so Dark Souls extreme. But it looked a little bit different. And I get excited about the atmosphere. I get excited about the character designs, the world style. Like those things to me are what really, really excite me. So seeing that coming back is just super exciting to me. I'm all for it.
Okay. Yeah.
That was the big thing for me for E3 for sure. I've watched that trailer several times now. And
that was like one of the first things announced.
Yeah.
Like, all right, E3's done for me. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Brian, I know you were really excited about Starfield. What did you think about I couldn't even keep going with a straight face.
Yeah. No, like it. So first of all, I've never really put much stock into E3. I've never had the desire to go back when it was a thing. My biggest issue with E3 has always been like, I don't really care about a trailer. I don't care about a trailer. Put whatever CG trailers are cool. Any company can do a good CG trailer. I just want to see gameplay. So I always reward the games that are actually willing to show, hey, I still remember when Naughty Dog did their live gameplay demo of Uncharted 4 and it broke.
Yep.
But I'll always accept that over, hey, look, it's Starfield. Oh, cool. You put together a CG trailer and give me zero information on what the game is.
You know what, though, to that point with Naughty Dog's thing, in their defense, and I guarantee you will agree with me 100% on this. Yes, the video kind of like he couldn't control it because what was Nathan Drake was basically just standing in one spot for a little bit.
Yeah.
For the first like 10, 15, 20 seconds before anybody realized that nothing was happening, nobody cared because they looked at it was like, damn, that looks good.
Yeah.
Holy crap. And nobody was moving. They were just standing there. But you could see like, the NPCs kind of walking around the town and everything like that. And nobody gave a crap. Yeah.
But that's why like Elden Ring was probably one of my favorite ones that they showed because they actually showed while it was just snippets, but they showed what the game will look like in action, in engine, in game, like while gameplay was happening. But that's why E3 for me, even you asked me like 12 years ago, man, it's whatever. I don't really care. Just show me I'll watch the gameplay trailers when they come out, but I've never been one for the spectacle of it.
Yeah. Well, understandable. I think Adrian is just as excited as I am for Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah, absolutely.
That game
that looks great.
Man, it looks so good. I know you guys aren't like massive into racing games and stuff, and I still to this day hesitate to call Forza Horizon a full-on racing game. I mean, it is, but you do so much other stuff that it's like it's just a big playground. That's all it is, and you're just driving instead of walking.
That's what I love about it. That's what makes that game so great. Like a racing game is fun, but when you're just doing a lap after a lap after a lap, do another course, it kind of gets boring. Forza Horizon.
That's why 4, I have no interest in getting a regular Forza game. They announced a regular Forza game. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
When we play Forza Horizon 4, I mean, we spend a ton of time just driving around and being entertained while we're looking for the next race to take on. It's a great game. It's a great game.
Adrian, did you get the chance to try out the demo for the Final Fantasy?
I don't even want to talk about that. I don't even want to talk about it. That game is awful. Yeah.
Did you try it?
I couldn't get through it.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. We're talking about what's the name of that game? Stranger something?
Stranger of Paradise or something like that.
Horrible name. Horrible game.
Japan. Come on.
Sounds very Japanese.
So I'll explain what I don't like about it. Yeah. And chaos, apparently. But man, that game is it's so generic in every way. It just did not appeal to me. What you saw, did you? Wow.
Because I played it once and I was like, I can't have not liked it that much, right? Like I can't have thought it was that mediocre and dumb. And so I played it again and I was like, oh no, oh boy.
It's bad. It's so bland. It is so bland. I mean, there's not a better word to describe it. What you saw in the trailer is what the demo is. It's essentially they took the demo gameplay and made a trailer out of it.
I will say I do find the concept of being able to switch jobs, like choose a couple of jobs and switch those on the fly, and then use the two different play styles to play through with your character. I thought that was kind of neat. Honestly, that was probably the only thing I liked about it, though. Everything else, well, go watch my video on Square Enix. It's called Dear Square Enix, and I have a heart-to-heart sit down with them.
Do you talk about Intergrade in that video? Oh,
I do.
Yes. Okay. Good.
I do because the stupid belt guy. Okay, we're just gonna.
I'm excited to play it, but I'm one who doesn't ever care about spoilers, so I'll go watch endings to stuff. And so I watched once you got so animated about it, I went and watched the what you may have been talking about, and I was like, oh yeah, I can see why this pissed him off.
yeah, and I was having a blast up until that. And I was like, oh no,
yeah,
why?
Yep.
yeah, I'm not gonna go super. I mean, you guys can talk about Square Enix if anybody has anything else left to say about them, but I really I said enough earlier today when I recorded my thing, and at the end I even sent a text to you guys saying like I'm so out of breath right now because I tweeted it too. I just was not. Yeah.
About the biggest disappointment that they had, advertising all 6 Final Fantasy 8 and 16-bit games, and then saying it's
even
coming
mention
to
that, but yeah.
Steam and mobile. Yeah.
Yep.
Like killed everybody's like hopes for
I
a
think-
Switch or PS4 port.
I will say I could definitely see that eventually coming to the Switch for 2 reasons. One, because it's a no-brainer. That's an easy one to just throw on there. It'd be perfect for it. If you're going mobile and you've got a console that doubles as a mobile device, 100% that's a no-brainer. But 2, they're looking at the sales of Legend of Mana, Saga Frontier, and the remakes that they've been doing, and they've been like way higher than they expected. And it's a lot of it has been on the Switch that those sales numbers have been through the roof. So I would not be surprised if we do see that at some point show up on there.
So what they'll do is 3 on one cart and then 3 on another cart, so they can get the most amount of money out.
Well,
of it.
the mobile stuff isn't a collection. You buy each game individually.
Oh,
yeah. They just call it a collection because it's like, well, we're making them in the same style. So
it's
Square
so
Enix.
disappointing.
Halo, getting their
Looks
their
fantastic.
Halo 5.
Oh man,
I still think it just looks
that got
like
me.
Halo.
That got me pumped up. I watched that multiplayer trailer and it just brought back so much nostalgia for me. I am so ready to play that.
I'm still waiting for the but on that though, where
Exactly.
how
Are they
multiplayer
monetizing
is free, but because there's no way they're just gonna make the entire multiplayer free. If they do, great. Don't get me wrong, but it's like when people try to defend Game Pass to me. They always say like, well, you pay this amount and you get all these new games for pretty much nothing. You get to play them right off the bat and everything. And then I always chime in with, but for somebody who doesn't play new games right away and waits a long time, they're out the window when you finally get to them.
Games Pass is not for everybody, but for a person with kids, it's perfect.
For anybody who likes new games, quite frankly, and plays them when they first came out. Yes.
I honestly think there was no but to the Halo multiplayer. If any of you played Warzone, I think it's going to be very similar to that model.
Or Fortnite.
Where there's going to be a ton of cosmetic, and I'm sure there will be a season pass, all that stuff to monetize it. So I actually, when they said it was going to be free, I was like, oh, they're going the Call of Duty Warzone model.
I'm okay with that.
I am too. No,
I'd be okay with
it's fine.
cosmetic
It's
stuff.
totally fine.
I was more expecting them to say, but only for 1 month on weekends.
They're following the Activision Call of Duty model with when they released Warzone for free. 100%. How I interpreted it. I was like, oh, they're doing that. Yeah.
I mean,
I've been playing a lot of.
Oh, go ahead.
I've been playing a lot of Fortnite with my son, and I even bought a battle pass this past week or so ago to play with him. We were having a blast with it, and it's fun to go through. And as you level up, you can buy different cosmetic things for your character with the money that you earn playing the game. So you pay $8, but then you unlock by playing. And it's a cool model that I think really, really works well. And it's affordable. $8 is like, okay, I can pay $8 for this season. I'm fine with that. It can be done.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
As far as the way it looked, though, it looked like Halo to me. I didn't.
It's so Halo.
Different.
It's so Halo in a good way.
Not that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it didn't I wasn't like, oh, new stuff.
Yeah.
They
I am not into the plot at all.
hope
Halo 5 had a garbage plot that made no sense to me.
I was gonna say,
my friend told me, well, you didn't read the books. Like, I shouldn't have to read the damn books to freaking understand that.
Yeah.
If they get back to the gameplay of the first one, just that sense of exploration, then I'll be happy.
Read.
Halo 4 was great. I struggled getting through Halo 5. They need better writers, bottom line.
Yep.
I've never been a fan of the campaigns. It's always been multiplayer for me. So I'm good with it.
Yep.
I like both.
Well, you get it for free.
Yay.
Right. I'm trying to think of what else really stuck out and was
from Microsoft?
from anybody.
Stalker 2.
What was it?
Stalker 2.
2, yeah, Stalker 2 for sure.
Yeah.
I've
I
never
was
played
excited
the
about
first
that.
one.
I haven't either.
But again, I don't like mentioning a bunch of stuff that's just CG.
Yeah.
Well, I thought there's some gameplay in there.
Yeah,
I guess
you
they could
might
be sneaky.
You might be right, but I still
Maybe.
remember just the campfire scene where they were just two characters talking.
There's some stuff where like they're running through the wilderness and throwing bolts to see where the anomalies are.
You might be right. Yeah, I am excited for Stalker 2 for sure. That's on
Yeah.
my radar. Yep.
Fair enough.
What about that extreme sports downhill racing, kind of like steep? I was into that. I was into it.
Mhm.
I would play it for, a half hour, 45 minutes, and then I'd be done with it. So if it became like a PS Plus title or something, I'd be absolutely for sure. But I would not pay full price for that.
The downhill bike racing thing, that looked pretty fun.
Oh, I didn't see that. I thought you were talking about the snowboarding game.
It's got snowboarding in it,
Oh,
right? I think.
Yeah, it does. It's a bunch. It's
Snowboarding.
a bunch of just
it
extreme.
takes me
sports,
back to the PlayStation 2.
but it's all
Yeah.
battle royale like type. So
And then they had
I mean,
flying.
Yeah,
You could fly.
wingsuits. Mm-hmm.
It looks cool.
A little bit of Diddy Kong racing vibes in that regard, because you had people who were on bikes and stuff while other people were on wingsuits, flying down in the same race, which was kind of neat. So, you know what? Yeah, speaking of wingsuits, honestly, Battlefield I thought looked really good, and I absolutely will be picking that up.
Dang.
That was
just think
another
it looks
CG
fantastic.
trailer, though.
Battlefield? That had gameplay.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah, heck,
That
yeah.
was
I
gameplay.
noticed a lot of CG.
Their
there was,
initial
but there was a lot of
their initial
gameplay in there,
trailer
too.
their initial trailer was CG, but then they had gameplay.
Okay, then I just watched the initial. Then
And I just the fact that when they said like you're going to be able to play offline with bots if you want to, because I love those games with massive maps and being able to actually explore them, which I miss from games that don't have that multiplayer. That's why Battlefront just pissed me off so much, because those were some beautiful levels in both of those games, and not being able to play them single player with bots was frustrating, because you play online, you're going to die in 2 seconds, with other people, and there's no way around that. But if I throw like one easy bot on the other team, then I can go and explore to my heart's content. It's not going to matter. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nintendo.
The only thing I can really even remember, like, well, okay, yeah, there are a few
Metroid
ones I
Dread?
remember. Metroid Dread, yeah.
Yeah, Metroid. That was the big standout.
It looked fine.
It looked a lot like the last Metroid game, and that one, while it was pretty fun, I thought the controls were overly complicated, so I kind of lost interest in it. And this one looks like it carries over a lot of those same move sets from the last game, so I don't know how interested.
I'm glad they have something for the Metroid fans, though, because I have felt like, because I'm not a massive Metroid fan by any means, and that's not because I dislike the games. I just haven't played very many of them. But it's really, really just like, I feel so bad when they have, that series has such a loyal fan base, and they have been getting screwed so many times, year after year. I think the last E3 I can remember where one got announced was that sports like one where they had the teams of Samus going at it on like 3DS, and I'm just like, oh god.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm happy they're at least doing something, because I know a lot of people are waiting for Metroid Prime 4.
I wish Nintendo would just get into the current gen stuff. Like, I get the Switch has a lot of popularity, but all their games look so dated. I know they have good art style on some of them. Like Breath of the Wild stands out to me as one that they fought around the limitations of the hardware. But like every time I see a new Switch game, I'm like, by Nintendo, I'm like, oh, yep, there's their patented same looking art every time. With their very limited graphical prowess. And I'm admittedly, I like brand new games. I like pushing hardware. Don't get me wrong, art style's very good. And when it's done right, it's like I said, Breath of the Wild showed what they could do. But like with that Metroid game, I was like, God, this looks like standard Nintendo.
But they could have a Metroid Prime game on the Switch. They're
Yes.
just doing something different.
Yeah. No, they're still developing Metroid
They're going
Prime
back to
4.
their. Yeah.
But again, by the time Metroid Prime 4 comes out, and knowing what first-person shooters look like today, by that time the new Halo will be out. It's just not gonna. It's always gonna look just dated every time. Like I said, that's my only gripe with Nintendo.
We'll see. Maybe.
Everything looks dated.
Well, I think that's okay with me. I like the
Agreed.
cartoony style. It doesn't bother me.
I'm
But I
fine.
mean, again, I get the mentality of wanting something new, shiny, and looks great. It's just not. It's not that big a deal to me.
Mhm.
So I'm really big into like when they talk about their re-releasing some old classic game or something.
Same.
I'm a sucker for those, and
Yep,
they had
me
a
too.
few of those. I can't remember. Like Fatal Frame was one that I'm excited
Yeah.
about.
Yes. Yeah.
That looked good. I haven't played the Wii U version, so I don't know what to expect on that.
That's what I mean. That's what it is. It is the Wii U version,
Yeah.
or the Wii U game, I should say. So, have you played
What,
any
what
of
other ones? Yeah, I played one or two, maybe both. But no, I haven't played 3 or the Wii one or any of those. There was another one that they announced that got me kind of excited, and I don't remember what it was now.
Mario and Rabbids 2?
Oh, no, I'm good.
I'm actually excited for that one. I like the
Are
first
ya?
one a lot. I hate Rabbids as characters, but the gameplay in that
Mhm.
game was solid.
That was another full-on CG trailer. I think they had some gameplay towards the
Yeah,
end.
but I mean,
way
it's
too much
it's going to
stuff.
be the same thing as the original, so
Yeah, we know
I
what
know
it
what
looks
to
like.
expect. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a they showed the new Shin Megami Tensei 5. I'm pretty excited
Yep.
about that. They
I haven't played any
showed
of them, so
the new Smash Bros character. Forget his name, Tekken guy.
the guy from Tekken, I don't even care.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I don't care. That was a bad announcement.
no.
Breath of the Wild was the big one for me as well.
So I'm skydiving
Yeah,
a
I
little
don't
bit.
know.
Yeah, I didn't need a sequel to that game, so I'm interested to see what this is like.
It's gonna be worse than the first one. Just go into it knowing that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say that overall, this was not like an E3 to be super pumped and excited about. For me,
I did notice. I wanted to bring up a couple. There was a couple like really really nice artsy looking games. One of which was Harold Halibut. Did you see this?
maybe
It is a stop motion video game, completely shot. They actually shot it in stop motion style and turned the game into it. It looks like a heavily story driven game. That game looks incredible. If you haven't seen that, check that out. There was one other one, and I don't recall the name of it, but it had a flat, cartoony looking style, and it was a side scrolling game, and it was very reminiscent of like Limbo, except for it wasn't dark. It was nice and shiny and bright colors and things like that. Damn, I wish I would remember the name, but I don't. But that game looked incredible. I just remember there was a couple of standouts to me of original IPs that are just completely unique, and I like seeing developers try something new.
sure.
And so I'm all for that.
Yep, that's
Cool.
a plus.
Mhm.
Anybody else have anything to say about E3 at all? It just
Yes.
wasn't anything to really get super stoked about this year. What do you got, Mark? What do you got?
Redfall from Arcane Studio.
You just want to throw a grenade at me.
Okay, well, we don't know what Redfall is going to be like because it was a CG trailer.
Yeah, I don't.
True, but I would imagine similar to Left 4 Dead ish.
Well, you're
Yeah.
thinking of Back for Blood.
Oh yeah, that is bad.
Yeah, but wasn't Redfall like the vampire one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it's also going to be like that?
Yes.
I think it's gonna be like Left 4 Dead with vampires. Yeah,
Man,
absolutely.
I don't want it to be like that. I want it to be an immersive sim.
Just telling you what I got, the impression that I got from it.
I want it to be
Brian, you
like
feel the
all
same
the
way?
other Arcane games.
Yeah. I don't know though. I don't know. It's weird to.
I could be wrong,
They're-
but that's how
That
it
is the problem
felt.
with CG trailers, though. We don't
Yes.
really know
Yes.
what it's going
They
to be.
don't give you any information. They just
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
I see that you're a completely separate art CG team made a trailer with some of the art assets from your game.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah,
But Back for Blood looked good too.
That I will be playing for
just like Left 4 Dead.
show.
Yeah. I'm fine with
I
more
love
Left 4 Dead.
Dead.
Yeah, Left 4 Dead is absolutely amazing.
And I am
That's a
going to
fun
throw
game.
a Molotov cocktail on you.
That's a really kind of a dick move. That's fine. It's all right.
And I was really disappointed that Deathloop did not show up at E3 this year,
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't surprising.
but I wanted to see it.
I know.
Isn't that supposed to be coming out pretty soon?
Probably. They've been talking about it for years.
Yeah. I
No
don't know.
Beyond Good
I
and
heard it
Evil
was.
2.
No,
Oh yeah, and
no.
no Beyond Good and Evil 2. That was disappointing.
Like that's like 5 years out still.
Man, I can
If
relate
they're
on
still
that one
working
now
on it.
because I finally finished it, the first one. So
it's
It's a
never
great
coming
game,
out.
isn't it?
it is good. I liked it.
Yeah.
It's very intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Planet of Lana. Planet of Lana. That's the name of the game I was trying to describe. It's a hand-drawn art style.
Oh,
Anyway, look that one up. Too.
Interesting. Fair enough. Okay. All right. Cool. E3 2021. Meh.
all right. Yeah, it really needed.
You know,
some.
you can't blame him though. You can't blame him. It's been hard. I mean, there was no E3 last year. Most people have been working remotely for the course of the last year. I get it. I wasn't really expecting much this year, and so I'm not completely disappointed. I'm just not overly excited about anything either, other than Elden Ring.
I just
Fair
hope
enough.
Elden Ring is more Bloodborne style, or Sekiro style, rather than traditional Dark Souls. If that's the case, I will be there with bells on.
Nice and
Okay.
fast-paced action.
Yeah, give me the slashy.
Yeah, I agree. I like it.
Fair enough. All right. So another thing we are going to be doing in traditional Frozen North fashion is a top 5 list, which is what we used to do. Actually, for a long time, we did them every single episode. Then eventually we started doing it every other episode. And it was just, we had so many lists. We actually did this one on one of the episodes, but it was like, things have changed a little bit. So it's, and I always, these are the kind of like topics that I really, really personally like, because they're going to be, they're personal. So I'm super excited to get into this. We're going to be talking, you know what, Mark, give me a noise that represents your top 5 personally influential video games.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic.
That's
There's
great.
it. That works.
All right,
That
that's a good
works.
transition. Oh man, I'm surprised you didn't do the Morse code.
It's not the news.
No, what was it the first time that happened? Like, it had something to do with the future.
Technology or
And I was
something.
like,
The future.
yeah, it's like, Mark, give me a noise that represents the ever-changing world of technology and us moving towards the future. And you went, beep, 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 beep. I was like, Morse
yeah.
code? Morse code is not
code.
the future. Like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's been a running
Classic
joke for a
move.
long time. All right. You know what? I think we should just go like how my notes are. I think we should just go down the list, keep it as not as confusing as possible.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Start at the top and just go down. So, and again, in Frozen North fashion, if we have something that crosses over, because we do have a few crossovers on here, what we'll say is this is my number 5, but it shows up on somebody else's list, so we'll talk about it then. So that's how we're gonna do it. All right. My number 5 personally influential video game is Counter-Strike, or CSGO, as it's known now. Counter-Strike Global Offensive, however you want to say it at this point. I played from 1.5, maybe a little bit earlier. Since I was like 16, 17 years old, I mean, like half my life, I've played Counter-Strike. I still go back to it every now and then. It is the one first-person shooter that I can comfortably say that I am good at, and I can prove it. It's just a blast. I know Mark, I've probably played that game with Mark out of this group more than anyone else. And it's the game that really like brought me into not only like taking video games seriously for a time, because I played on a league and we actually went to tournaments. I even traveled down to Texas at one point for a tournament. But it really like showed me that video games in the future are going to be, I mean, it's happening now with esports and stuff, are going to be just as popular and just as watched as the big sports you see now, football, baseball, basketball, that kind of thing. At some point, I still strongly believe that will happen. And I mean, that game is still, people still play CSGO quite a bit. It's still widely, hugely popular. And it's such a great game. And I want to tell this story because it cracks me up. And I told this the last time we did this on the Frozen North. So those of you who haven't listened to that show, this will be new for you. But the first time I ever played Counter-Strike, or first time I ever saw Counter-Strike, I should say, involved Mark at his house. And I was sitting with his brother, and they had two computers. Mark, I don't know if you remember your old house from high school. You had the one upstairs and the one downstairs. You had a friend over, and John had myself and Justin over at the time. John is Mark's brother. And you guys were upstairs, and you guys were just playing one-on-one between the two computers on Counter-Strike. And I'm watching John play, and you're up there. And this won't be as funny to everybody else, but just because I know Mark so well and because I remember it and how it sounded, it was just the funniest thing in the world to me. You know how, like, when a big brother bullies his little brother, sometimes the little brother will have like this like yeah, leave me alone, yeah, like whiny, screechy kind of deal. They're playing, and John Mark, I don't know if he ran out of ammo or what, but for some reason he wasn't shooting back at some point, and John starts chasing after Mark with a gun, and I just from upstairs hear this blood-curdling scream while I'm watching Mark's character run away on the screen in front of me. And it was just the funniest thing in the world. And John finally kills him, and then the screaming just stops, and they just start a new round, and they go back to it. And that was my first introduction to Counter-Strike, and I had no idea that it would leave such an impact on me to this day. But I still, again, it's still a game that I go back to, and I love Counter-Strike so much. It is one of the best games I've ever played because it's so balanced and just a really, really fun time, especially if you like structure in your shooters. There's no sitting and ducking and recharging your shields bull crap. It's just you go till everybody's
shots fired at Halo.
I'm just saying. You go till one team is entirely dead or until the bomb blows up, hostages are rescued, whatever. And it's very cut and dry as to what it is. And I love it for that reason and so many others. So that's my number 5, Counter-Strike or CSGO. Mark, number 5, sir.
And my number 5 is, how is it pronounced? Deus Ex. Not Deus Ex.
That's how you've always said it. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's Deus.
Yeah, Deus Ex 2000. This was my first foray into immersive sims, which you all know I love now. Dishonored, Prey, all that good stuff.
Yep.
But this game came out in 2000. I had it on the PC, the Game of the Year edition. And I just, man, that game changed how I view video games in general. First mission, you log in. You don't log in. What am I saying? You spawn on this dog. Stop laughing.
Mark,
Stop laughing.
Change.
You spawn it on the stock, and you find out you're at the Statue of Liberty, which has been taken over by terrorists, and it's also the headquarters of your anti-terrorist organization. So, first mission is this huge island. You can go up into the Statue of Liberty. You can go over to your HQ, talk to all these different NPCs, log on to your computer, and read emails, which is pretty crazy when you think I'm coming from games like Half-Life, Doom. To have a game where you can log into your computer and read emails, and go talk to your boss and get the mission information from him. Go flush the toilet, get yelled at because you go into the women's bathroom. All kinds of good stuff like that. Hey, it happens. You go in every room in every game.
Maybe it happens to you. I don't. Okay.
It was an accident.
It happens.
But it was just, I had never played a game like that before, where there's so much more to it than just running through and shooting people.
Yeah.
And I pulled a classic Mark. I didn't beat the game. I got like halfway through. I stopped playing, and then I got kidney stones in high school. I was home for like a month, so I got back into the game and played all the way through it, and was just super impressed.
Nice.
You still, I mean, yeah, and I know that game means a lot to you because you still, how many years later, you still bring this up in conversations that we have regularly. Mm-hmm. So, yeah,
you still get kidney stones.
I think it's why.
Happens.
I think it's why a game like Star Citizen intrigues him so much as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can push all the buttons. I need to push the buttons, JJ.
Yes.
Mark, even if I fall out of my ship because he tried to use the cappuccino machine.
Yes.
That's what happens when you play a game in alpha.
Yay!
Funny enough, he did survive the fall to the planet. So, yeah, he literally lands and he just goes, "Can somebody help me up?" What? All right, cool.
Fair enough.
Brian, you're up.
Okay, guys. My number 5 is World of Warcraft, the critically acclaimed MMO from Blizzard Entertainment. But one of these lovely gentlemen has it on their list a little higher, so I'm just going to default to whatever their wisdom is on it.
Fair enough.
Well played.
Alton to the wisdom.
Yeah.
Adrian, number 5.
I've got Super Mario Bros. Duck Hunt. More Super Mario Bros. For me. But this is also on somebody else's list, much higher up, so we can wait on that.
Correction. It's just Mario Bros. I wrote down Super Mario Bros. 2 and realized that it's not on the Super Nintendo. It's on the NES.
Whose list could that be on? I don't know.
Mark!
Oh man. Yeah, here's where we're gonna start running into the doubles here. My number 4 is Final Fantasy VII. Oh no, actually, you know what? This is perfect because Mark's number 4 is
Talk about it right now.
Collaborative
right now,
effort.
I was just looking at the highlights. I wasn't looking at the numbers. Yeah, Mark and I both have the same number 4 in this Final Fantasy VII. Mark, what do you first?
Well, I'll tell you what I remember about this game. First and foremost, is that we had sold. I'm sorry to Adrian and JJ. We had sold every game and every piece of game hardware we owned to Funko Land, or wait, what was it called? Was it
I think
Funko
was
Land?
Funko Land back then.
Yeah.
Yep.
In order to afford a PlayStation 1. And one of our neighbors had Final Fantasy VII. And I just saw some of the cutscenes in that game and was blown away. And I was like, yep, we made the right decision. This was exactly what we needed to do. Burn every old game. This is the future.
Oh.
So I was just super impressed by that. Go ahead, JJ.
You know what? Quite frankly, this was growing up and being so like afraid to tell people about the kind of games I was into. Like, you knew people play video games, but there was already a stigma attached to video games in general. If you played them, people would be like, "Oh, you're a gamer. Oh, you're playing video games or whatever." No matter what you played, didn't matter. But then on top of that, even among gamers, there was still also stigmas within that where if you liked a game with swords and knights and wizards and crap, you're probably going to get ridiculed for that too. So I didn't really tell too many people that I was into RPGs at the time. Final Fantasy VII comes out. All that goes out the window. Didn't matter what kind of game you were into. That was the game to see. That was the game to play. And it blew everyone away, no matter what you were into. You could have been a sports gamer, whatever. I love that. And I loved not having to work, like, just even if I knew somebody wasn't like typically, I wasn't going to just walk up to people and start telling them, like, "Oh, well, you should check out Breath of Fire or Star Ocean or, whatever." But it was a lot easier to start a conversation when somebody said, "Yeah, man, I played Final Fantasy VII. That just came out. Have you heard of it?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I've been playing 4 and 2 before that." It's like just getting to see it become normalized. RPGs in general was just, it meant the world to me for somebody who, held back and didn't talk to a lot of people about the kind of games I was into. This wasn't like something that like brought me completely out into the forefront where I was telling everybody I was into games. But it was really, really cool to see that acceptance, at least on the outside, and hear the stories of people who weren't normally into those kind of games finally get into it and be like, "Man, this is the kind of stuff we've been missing out on," the heavy story focused games. And it just was amazing. And that has always stuck to me. And that's why, that game means the absolute world to me because of what it did for the gaming industry and for gamers in general, especially, gamers like myself who, were a little bit closeted back then. In that regard. So
yeah, I just remember having, before I ever played the game myself, I had a save cartridge with a near end game save on it, and I would just load that up and fly around in the airship and go see the different weapons and try and beat them, not even understanding what the game was about, really, just being in awe at what seemed like somehow photorealistic graphics and just mind-boggling visuals.
Which is this massive world you could explore. Nothing we'd seen before at the time.
This one isn't on my list, but my experience is so similar to what you explained. I vividly remember talking to a friend of mine at school, whereas before you don't talk about video games at school, not especially not in front of the girls. You know, you don't want to come off as looking like the nerd, you know. But that game, nobody cared. Like it was the cool hot thing, and that's when all the closet gamers came out. So it was fun.
Yeah, love it, love it, love it, love it. Brian, number 4. I remember you talking about this one, and I actually really like your reasoning on this. Go ahead.
Yeah, so my number 4, and this will all make sense when I say it based on what we were talking about with Star Citizen, is X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, made by the rest in peace. Well, they're not dead, but LucasArts Studios, the brainchild of I think Lawrence Holland was the developer on that. That was what spawned my love for space flight sims. So I always used to play. My dad didn't like video games growing up, but he was wanting to become a pilot. So he had the very, very early versions of flight sim. And I still remember loading up in planes and flying like past the Sears Tower in Chicago, all that kind of fun stuff. But then my friend was like, dude, why don't you play this space game? It's like in Star Wars. And that opened my, because, you know, flying a plane's fine and everything, but, you know, there's not much to the imagination. You can do it in real life. But with X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, you could load up into a big sandbox. You know, the levels were 1993 level, you know, they're not crazy, but I still remember the one you could put a Star Destroyer on one end with TIE Fighter flying at you, and you could go and shoot the Star Destroyer's turrets and like fly along the big giant ships like Hull, and you could reenact the A-Wing flying into the bridge if you wanted to. Wouldn't do anything in the game, but yeah, the reason it's on this list for me is because this has actually spawned my love for space flight games. I've always been fascinated by space, and it's kind of let me do what I wanted to do, and it was very sandboxy. So, yep,
Cool.
Awesome.
Yep, number 4.
Adrian, number 4, sir.
Number 4 for me is Mega Man X or X2, X series in general, Super Nintendo. Reason being, it was influential to me because I hadn't seen artwork like that in a game before, and the art really struck me at that time in my life, and I'm not sure why. The character design of X, but Capcom games in general in that time, you know, the Street Fighter games, Breath of Fire series, things like that. The artwork and the advertisements were so influential to me that, you know, it had a big bearing on how I went artistically. You know, I'm a graphic designer now, and I think that's attributed a lot to those early art things that I looked at. Mega Man X is one that vividly stands out to me. You know, I was tempted to add a bunch of other games that were visually influential to me on this list, but I didn't. But like Earthworm Jim was another one that was really influential. And honestly, like the gameplay is fun. I enjoy it, but it's not so much the gameplay that gets me. It's more so than the art style, if that makes sense. So yeah, Mega Man X is my 4.
The X series in general is really, really highly regarded. I know Brian's a big fan too.
The only reason it's not on my list is because they weren't ever personally influential. But Mega Man games in general, I've played and beat every single one of them except for those like weird 3D ones. What were they called? Network
X7 and X8. Oh no.
The Network series, the Net series.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the
Battle
Battle
Network.
Network.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
Battle Network. Yeah, but
Adrian and I have a little bit of history with that.
But I played all the way through X7, X8, all the Mega Mans. I actually used to when I used to own physical games, I used to own all of them. I would try to collect them because it's one of my favorite like series growing up. So yeah, Mega Man, good.
Well, I do remember one of the reasons gameplay wise it stuck out to me is the whole beating a boss and taking their weapon and being able to use that throughout the course of the game. That was such a unique concept to
figuring
me.
out
Being
which
able to
boss
do
was
it
weak
in
to it.
any order you want. You're not
Right.
you know, beholden to the path that they set before you. So
Yeah.
cool. All right. So that was number 4. Number 3, my number 3 is World of Warcraft for the PC, which, if you remember correctly, is Brian's number 5. World of Warcraft, man. Frankly, without World of Warcraft, I wouldn't be sitting here with Brian right now.
Yeah, true.
Yep.
Although I like to think that maybe like fate would have us because we're gamers. You know what I
Fair
mean?
enough, yeah.
But fair enough. Fair enough.
But that was what got everybody at our work talking, was World
Sure.
of Warcraft.
Yep.
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Yeah, really the only reason this is on my list is because it was personally influential in my life because it got me fired from a job way back when. It was a little small town shop, hardware. I was young. I think this will date me a little bit, but I was definitely out of college. It was 2000, probably 7, back when TBC was out. The original TBC, not this new stuff that all these kids are into these days. I'm talking about the original. Okay. And I just decided the Sunday I had to work at the small town hardware store. In my head, going to the elemental cliff and farming for gold was more important than showing up to real life work and farming for money. So I no call, no showed, and they fired me. So that's nice. Yep.
I see how that's personally influential. I mean, imagine where you would be now if you hadn't lost that job.
I mean, it was.
Whole nother-
I still remember the guy pulled me in to fire me. He was like, "Hey, we gotta let you go," and I'm like, "Yeah, I figured. Thanks. Sorry to have." You know. Yep, I figured. So,
Worth it.
yep.
Honestly, this my top 3 are very, very much like any order kind of thing. Especially 3 and 2. This one, World of Warcraft, is literally the game that turned me into who I am today when it comes to video games and how I portray myself towards other people. It's the game that made me not afraid to tell people that I play video games. I was talking before about Final Fantasy VII and how I hadn't come out of my shell even after I saw like so many other people get into it and everything like that. There wasn't that much of a push, at least in my circle, to where it made me want to come out and say that I was into these games and this kind of thing. World of Warcraft, though, when I was working at a hardware store, Brian was there as well, as we just mentioned. This is a different hardware store from the one he was talking about, which was years prior to this.
Yes.
This was the following expansion during the Frozen Throne.
Right.
But I overheard a couple of people at the place talking, and I mentioned like, all right, I overhear, like Warcraft jargon, where they're just like, yeah, well, I was in Orgrimmar and I, got the new bow for my hunter and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm like, I know what he's talking about. I get that. So, I overheard it a little bit, and eventually I was able to kind of like strike up a conversation with a guy named Chris who worked there at the time, which also got me introduced to our friend Brandon and Brian, obviously, and other people that we actually got to play with us there. And we, at one point, we had like, I would say like 9-10 people in the store playing freaking World of Warcraft, not necessarily all together, but we all knew that we played. So we had things to talk about. And I realized like, these guys talk about this so easily and are able to just come out and say that they're into this stuff. They don't. That's one thing I've always envied about Brian, especially. He's so unapologetically a gamer. He will flat out tell you and not have any like, not that he should be ashamed of it by any means. That's God, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like, I used to think that I had something to be ashamed of. And because I saw all these people doing this and just talking about it so openly, I realized that wasn't the case. And I was just putting this pressure on myself for no reason. And because I had World of Warcraft and I was able to talk to these people and play with them in some cases, I ended up, Brian and I, we had characters on each other's servers at one point, and we, played with them and talk shit on one while playing on the other, and and so that kind of thing. But I mean, we always had a good time. We always had conversations at work, and it was a blast. It got to the point where 5 of us took a week off work one week,
man,
and leveled up a party together from 1 to, I think we got to like 70, just spent the entire week just playing this game and leveling. And it was so much fun. It was a blast. So many inside jokes and ridiculous stories to come out of that. I would love to do like a whole recap of that at some point. But it was so much fun. We called it WoW Week. And since then we've done a handful of what we call geekends, where we just, LAN parties basically at somebody's house. But without World of Warcraft, I would not be as unapologetic as I am now. I realize it makes me kind of sad because how many people did I miss out on becoming friends with prior to that because I was too afraid to say something, because I was too ashamed of what I was into for no reason at all. You know, it's like if you meet somebody, you tell them you're into gaming. And granted, now is a lot easier to do so than 20
Definitely.
years ago.
Yep.
But at the same time, like, who knows? There still may have been people back then who were just as afraid as I was and were just waiting for somebody else to come out and say, hey, I'm into gaming too and whatnot. And because of World of Warcraft, I am the picture of unapologeticness that stands before you today. And it doesn't bother me in the slightest. I will tell the biggest video game haters in the world, yeah, man, I play it. It's a freaking blast. And I will never stop because it's amazing to me and it's done so much for my life. So that is my number 3 personally, most influential game, World of Warcraft. Love it.
Here, here.
Yeah.
Mark, number 3.
I'll tell you, I've realized I'm just saying how games influenced my perspective of what a game could be and not
That's
how it
fine.
influenced me as a person. So I kind of,
But it's influencing what you perceived a game could be. So
Yes.
it is influencing you.
okay. All right. Good.
Yeah, you're good.
So Half-Life 3, or my number 3 is Half-Life.
Confirmed. We did it,
You
guys.
know.
We did it. Confirmed. We did it. I knew there was a reason we were having them
What do
back.
you
See?
know?
I knew it.
Are you on the inside, Mark?
Oh man,
I wish it was Half-Life.
that was the
3.
project he was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
That's right.
That he didn't want to
Half-Life
say
3 is
more
going to be a 32-minute long video.
Yeah, and I'm in it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's great.
So no, it's Half-Life from 1998, which when I think back to that time, I'm thinking games like the original Doom, games like GoldenEye, which those are the games that I associated with FPSs before
Oh, I was
Half-Life.
like, you're
Yes.
about a decade.
Duke Nukem.
No, but those are the ones that I had played a lot.
I got
you know,
it. At first you said Doom,
Yeah,
I was
you
like,
got-
no. But
You
yes,
got
I
some
get it.
janky environments and you're running around with guns and you're shooting enemies that run into the room, stuff like that. And then suddenly you have Half-Life, which is this huge Black Mesa facility, all these different kinds of guns that act completely different. And one of the things that blew my mind at the time, little things, these things are nothing, but you could go talk to the security guard and have him follow you, and he'd be your buddy and he'd shoot enemies for you so you didn't feel as scared. This is a freaking scary game.
Mhm.
So I just tried to keep those guys alive as long as I possibly could. But the thing that was mind-blowing about that game was also like one of the first FPSs I played where there's stuff like the blast chamber with the giant tentacle razor guys.
Yeah.
That you can't fight them. You just have to distract them by making sound, throwing grenades, and then running through, dealing with sort of complicated puzzles with fan systems and stuff. And later on, giant enemies that you have to like get to a command center to strike with a missile strike.
Mhm.
Just these really interesting departures from running and gunning, which is what gaming, the FPS gaming had been before this, along with also like some of the best, the clearest environmental storytelling that had been in an FPS to that point. Because I mean, sure, GoldenEye is pretty good, but you have to admit it was confusing and hard to follow the plot in the game.
It was just the plot of the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gamified.
You went level by level, so it was
Right.
just,
Yeah.
you know.
No,
If you hadn't seen the movie, it was, and I hadn't
Yeah.
seen the movie.
Oh, okay. If you hadn't seen the
Nobody cared
movie, you're
about the
probably like,
dialogue.
what's
No.
happening?
It's like, oh, we're on this boat now for some reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just the level of polish, the level of immersion that was in this game was outstanding. And you wouldn't have Counter-Strike or
Yep, I knew
Team
exactly what you were gonna
Fortress
say. I was
Classic
gonna say the same
without
thing.
it, which
Yep.
were I put probably
We
weeks,
played so much
months.
Team Fortress, man,
Mhm.
back in the day. Oh my gosh, that is such a still just
Yeah,
so many great memories with that game.
for me, that time period, that couple of years is as nostalgic as anything I can think of in movies, gaming, whatever. Just this, you get this one game, and now you have all these games, and you can download weird maps with
100%.
like all kinds of crazy stuff in them. Just this like tinkerer's perspective on video gaming.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
that's
great.
Half-Life.
Yeah, revolutionized first-person shooters. That's for sure.
Cool, man. All right. Brian, number 3, sir.
Hi guys. My number 3. My number 3 is a nice animated point-and-click adventure by the mind of Tim Schafer. LucasArts again, rip. Day of the Tentacle. So Day of the Tentacle.
I've beaten it.
And what'd you think?
I thought it was hilarious. Yeah, it's hysterical. Yep.
So imagine playing that in the 90s. The reason it influenced me was because before Day of the Tentacle, so one of the reasons why I'm not afraid to be like I'm a gamer, I've always been a gamer. I've always grown up. I grew up even as a young kid around all my friends had games. Their older brothers had games. Everyone was a gamer were in my little circle. And I remember my best friend at the time when I was in elementary school, an older brother in high school named Devin. And he had a computer with DOS. You could run those EXEs from DOS. And Day of the Tentacle was one of them. And I didn't realize like you could play a cartoon. It was my child mind was like, I can play a cartoon. Which is essentially what it is. You're playing a Saturday morning cartoon, very adult, raunchy Saturday morning cartoon, but had never played something so funny to me as a 10-year-old kid as I did Day of the Tentacle. So I forever that fostered, it grew my understanding of what games can be, and honestly set that little seed in my brain of story in games being a thing. Because before then, I just game stories didn't matter to me. I just wanted to play I wanted to play Doom and shoot the demons, right? I didn't care about why, more or less just was doing. So yeah, Day of the Tentacle was like it was that little seed in my brain that like games can have very good stories and entertain you without having, because it's a point and click adventure. So there's no gameplay to it. It's literally just looking at a screen, pointing on stuff and watching the action happen. So yeah.
Did you ever play Maniac Mansion?
Oh yeah, yep.
Like the original.
Yep, Monkey's Island. I played almost all the King's Quests.
There's something I was curious about. I've been meaning to ask you this. But I played the PS4 remaster of Day of the Tentacle.
Right.
And in that game, you can actually go in and there's a computer terminal in the game that you can go and play the entire original Maniac Mansion game. Right. Was that in the original as well?
I don't believe so. If it was, I never noticed it. But no, back then games. I still remember games within games wasn't a thing. I mean, we were still playing on DOS at the time, so there was really no way to launch 2 games at once. If I'm wrong, I may have been. Again, I was very young when I first played Day of the Tentacle, but I still haven't played the remaster. I
thought it was a neat touch.
Yeah, I still haven't played the remaster. It's on one of my thousands of Steam games that have yet to be played. I'm churning through them, but like I said, I like to play new stuff rather than old stuff. I don't feel nostalgia the way a lot of people do. So, but that game definitely influenced my gaming persona.
Cool. All right, Adrian, I'm actually kind of
shocked.
I would not have guessed this. Yeah.
I am too, but I had to do some real thinking to try to think of games that influenced me in different ways. And so my number 3 is Pokemon Silver. And I'm specific to Silver because that's the first fully fledged Pokemon game that I played. The reason it's on my list is because, I'm a collector. Obviously, you see what I got behind me. I'm very big into collecting things. And the concept of collecting monsters or little Pokemon to battle for you was the most appealing thing to me at the time. And I was older when the Pokemon series came out, so I was in high school when it came out, and I knew it was a kid's game, and I knew that I wasn't supposed to play it because playing video games in the 90s were already frowned upon, like JJ already went into detail about. So I remember my brother got Pokemon Yellow in a Game Boy Color, and I wanted to play it so bad. And I did. I got to play it a little bit. And it was just so appealing to me, having this collection game on a handheld system. And I think it actually showed me like games could be in-depth and fun on the go. And I'd always wanted to have that experience, a handheld experience. And I think handheld gaming is still my favorite way to game to this day. It seems more intimate to me and more personal. And I can just I can focus in on it. Like people have their phones now. I was excited to have my little Game Boy system. So why silver? I bought a Game Boy Advance, I want to say, maybe a big Game Boy Color. I don't remember. But I did had a system, and I bought Pokemon Silver, a used copy of it. And I was married at the time, and I just remember playing that game obsessively with my wife. Just she would do her thing, read a book or something, and I'd be playing Pokemon Silver. And then Pokemon Coliseum came out on the GameCube, and the concept of carrying over my Pokemon to the GameCube was so appealing. And I don't know, it was influential to me because it showed me that, I guess, mostly the handheld stuff. I think
Sure.
that is the introduction to handheld stuff to me, and it's still
Not
my
to mention
preferred
the
way to game.
big game for a handheld too. Like back
Yeah.
then, you had like handhelds for the most part were just side scrollers and not super deep and everything like that. But the Pokemon games were massive. And they really showed what you could still do with a handheld and keep people immersed. I really, I dig it.
I was already into JRPGs and stuff at that time, and so the idea of having a JRPG that I could take with me was super appealing. So
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Brian, you ready for this?
Go, you go, baby.
Brian and I have the same number 2. I will go
Good
first, and because you recently played it, and you're the bigger fan out of the two of us, but still super influential for me nonetheless. The Mass Effect series. My God, I kick myself when I think about how I first reacted for playing the first game. I remember putting it in before we started. This was before we started TFN back in the day. I had heard so much about it and how great it was and how amazing it was, and that it had some RPG elements and all this stuff and everything. And I was like, it's just a dude with a gun in space. Looks dumb. Looks like just another freaking stupid shooter that I don't care about. I don't care. Dumb game. And I had no interest in playing it. But since it was so popular, I was like, fine. I found it really cheap. I'll play it, I guess. Sure. So I picked it up. I played a little bit of it. I got to the Citadel, and I was like, this is so big, and I'm so bored right now, and I just don't. It's not for me, and I don't want to do it. Then we started doing the show. And we said, we're going to review the first game of the Mass Effect series. And because of the show and because of the pressure I had, put on myself to be like, you said you were going to do this, so you're going to do it. I was like, all right. So I forced myself through the Citadel, and then I didn't need to force myself at all for 2 more games after that. The Mass Effect series blew me away. Not only did it blow me away, but it taught me that I need to not judge games based on what my initial perception of them is, which is why I'm still going to check out Elden Ring. But I would not have branched out into other games that weren't JRPGs if it hadn't been for this series and it hadn't been for it to teaching me that lesson. Up until then, I was Final Fantasy, I was Star Ocean, I was Breath of Fire, I was any game that had swords and knights and magic and dragons and that kind of thing. And if it didn't have any of those things, I was like, meh. Ugh, dumb. I don't care. It's stupid. And then I played this and I was like, oh my God, I'm missing out on so much. What the hell? And honestly, this also transformed the Frozen North, because if you listen to the first few episodes, we're like, oh, we're talking about story-focused gaming. And yes, Mass Effect's a story-focused game, but you kind of notice a shift after we play the first one of this, and especially after we do 2 and 3, where we just start talking about other games that aren't necessarily as story-focused. And we kind of just open it up to gaming in general, because so many games have so much to offer. It felt like a crime to just diminish it just to, one specific avenue of gaming when there were so many other aspects of it that we enjoyed. And Mass Effect really just showed me that I need to freaking expand my horizons and open doors to new experiences. And I love it to pieces to this day. I absolutely plan on playing the remastered versions as soon as I get the time. Because I know once I start, I'm not going to want to stop until, all 3 are done. That's, the time warp that we mentioned is, you play and you think you've been playing for an hour when 6 have gone by. It's one of those. So I could gush about the Mass Effect series all day, but it completely changed who I am as a gamer and what I play. So it's great. Brian, you, sir.
Yeah, so remember, rewind your brains for a few minutes. Remember when I said the seed of storytelling gaming was planted the day I played Day of the Tentacle back in early 1990s? Well, I then fell back into my bro gamer ways. What a bro gamer is I just want to shoot stuff, multiplayer. I got really into LAN parties, which featured Unreal Tournament, Quake, Jedi Knight, weirdly, Counter-Strike. And then Halo came out, and I played Halo, the campaign, and I was like, I don't care about the story. Just let me shoot stuff. Then we'd hook up LAN and play LAN Halo, original Halo in the early 2000s. And it wasn't until I was living with my friend Matt, and I still remember it to this day. He was playing Mass Effect, and I knew it was just released for the Xbox 360. Am I wrong? No, it was the Xbox.
I think you're right.
No, it was Xbox 360. It was a very early Xbox 360 game. And I remember hearing about it and looking at it, and I love space. I'm a space nerd, so it already kind of perked me up. But then I remember he was in a dialogue tree with a character, and I was like, he goes, dude, this game's awesome. You got to play it. And I was like, no, look, you're just sitting there talking in a dialogue tree. Where's the shooting? Where's the cool spaceships? So it was a couple years later that I finally picked it up. I was like, whatever, I'm bored. I'll play this. And boom, that seed of storytelling in games developed into a big old flower. And I became a fan of storytelling in games again. And it kind of like, it steered my gaming love in a direction away from. So I still get urges to play Call of Duty and Apex Legends and stuff like that for my competitive side. But in large part due to Mass Effect, I've shifted to more enjoyable, story-rich, full games as opposed to just being a bro gamer.
That's so funny to me that like we look at the same game and how it impacted us in that complete opposite way. Like I thought it was way too much of a shooter looking game, and you thought it didn't look enough of a shooter game.
Yeah, dialogue trees. Funny. What is this?
Guns? What the heck?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Where's my lightsaber?
It's so good, right? Yeah, man. Mass Effect is. If you haven't played this is the perfect time to jump into it with that trilogy. Do it. You'll thank me later.
And one's a lot less janky now, which I usually skip to one when I replayed, but yeah, one's a lot easier to get through now.
Cool.
Yep.
Mark, number 2.
It's bad timing. I need to put my cat outside really quick.
Oh no!
You're fine. Adrian, why don't you go ahead and do your number 2 then?
Hold on.
Hold
on.
Okay.
I can't hear what you're saying. Outside.
I should leave all of this in.
When he gets back, let's just act like we were.
Hey, Mark, that's my number 1.
But,
sorry.
Anyway. What I meant to say was I need to tell that forklift driver to keep it down.
Yes.
No, my number 2 is Star Ocean Till the End of Time. Anyone gonna?
That's why you made us wait. You wanted to make that joke. You bastard.
No, my number 2 is Final Fantasy 3, as we called it back in the day.
Yep. Nowadays we know it is 6.
If you have listened to the Frozen North, you've probably deduced this by now, but the 2 main reasons I play video games are because it's neat or because it makes me feel something. And I think with Final Fantasy 1, it was neat. I certainly wasn't being moved to tears or anything in Final Fantasy 1. I didn't have like a real connection to the characters or anything. But with Final Fantasy 3, we got the SNES again by selling everything we owned to Funko Land. When we got Final Fantasy 3, we loaded that up, and it was just like right from the start. It's, at least to a kid, it's almost Shakespearean, the storytelling. These incredible
my favorite
characters.
game of all time. You don't got to convince me.
Betrayals, these deep backstories and heartbreaks just throughout the entire game. really inventive stuff happening in it. I mean, we've talked about it so much over the years, but it really was just like probably the first time I really, really felt something from playing a video game. And then I started chasing that feeling for a long time after that, which is why I played Star Ocean till the end of time, and it's my all-time favorite game.
4D chess.
Mm-hmm.
You have,
It made me
you have
feel your rage, and I loved it.
when you have a cast of characters like that, that's that diverse, and each have their own specific backstory. Like, I know we joke about, 108 and Suikoden and all that stuff like that, but Final Fantasy 6 was, or 3, was the first game that, obviously, again, my favorite game of all time, hands down. I don't know that it will ever be dethroned. But it really, it was the first time that I played a game where I could pick and choose who the main characters were as I played along, and I could learn about them as I was going through this massive adventure. And I got attached to every single one of them, and I wanted to play with every single one of them. It just really, really felt like you were among friends when you were with this cast.
Yeah.
And it's still to this day, I have days where I will just randomly think about, Locke and Realm and, Strago and Umaro and all, like, man, it was just such an amazing experience the first time I played that and actually got to, it's just amazing.
Like it's really incredible in the World of Order, like the first part of the game.
Yeah.
But when everything falls apart, the world
Whoa,
balance,
spoilers!
when everything falls apart and you get these incredible, like, nobody tells you that there's all these little side quests you can do that will reveal the backstory of all the characters. You just have to figure it out. And when you delve into it, there's so much to unearth.
But it wasn't so like obscure to where you're like, how the hell would I have ever figured this stuff out? Like, come on. Like, it gives you just enough to where you can pretty well find your way around and learn this stuff too.
But for me, coming from, hey, this is fighter, this is mage.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
To what we had with 3, my God.
Yeah.
What a treat.
Cool. All right. Greatest game ever, hands down.
I agree with you.
That's pretty up there.
You agree it's the greatest game ever? Yeah.
Well, no, well, it has the perfect amount of characters for an RPG.
How dare you? How dare you? Maybe for the SNES.
I'm ashamed to admit I still have never played through that game entirely. I need to.
Well, we
Being the
built
fan
it up.
that I am. Yeah. I've heard nothing but great stuff about it, and I don't know why. I haven't gone back to play it. I've tried several times, and
it's worth it for Terra's theme alone. I still listen to that every now and then on the YouTube.
Yeah, and the music.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think it's top notch.
Yeah.
All right, man. Adrian, number 2, sir.
Number 2 for me is EverQuest, the PC. So, story behind that one, the internet in general has always been a very fascinating thing to me. I remember when I first heard about it and how cool the concept of being connected through your computer was to, just everything about it was exciting. And I think it's probably why I got so big into web design too. And I love web design. It's what I do now. So the concept really has never left me. But I remember hearing about online gaming and how you could play games like EverQuest or shooters and stuff online on your PC with people all over the world. And that was just blew me away. So I remember I built my own PC. My dad knew somebody who knew how to build PCs. And so she showed me how to build my own PC. I was getting ready to go off to college that next summer or the next fall. So that summer we over the course of several months, we were going to PC shows and at the state fair and buying parts. And she would help me pick out everything I needed. And then I went over to her house and we built the PC, and it was amazing. Like, I had my very own PC that I'd built up to that point. Like, we had a family computer that we would share, but now I had my own computer. And I was getting ready to go to the dorm rooms in at my university, Oklahoma State. And one of the things that appealed to me the most is that they were going to have T1 internet, which supposedly was the fastest internet you could possibly get, faster than cable, faster than
I remember
anything.
hearing that. Yeah.
And all I had up to that point was dial-up. So I had no idea what to expect. So the first thing I did was buy EverQuest. And I was like, I'm going to play this game. I'm going to experience it. I remember getting up into my dorm room, meeting my roommate and everything, getting established in my classes, and then starting up EverQuest. And I almost failed out of that my very first semester of college.
I was going to say EverQuest started up, GPA started down.
Exactly. Oh man, I would miss classes. I wouldn't do my homework. And I was like, I knew, like, what am I doing? I was crazy, paying all this money, and I knew it too, but I couldn't stop. Like, this was so fascinating to me. And I was into it for a solid, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. And I would get on there every day, play on there. I had a group of friends, not that I didn't know personally, but people that I met in the game that I would meet on there, and they would show me the ropes and everything. And I don't know, like, that was my first real introduction to online gaming. And, I've loved it ever since. It progressed throughout, I got my friends into it, like my personal friends who grew up playing games with me, but didn't really play online games. And I convinced them to buy PlayStation 2s with the network adapter so we could play SOCOM together or Splinter Cell. I remember when Halo 2 came out, I convinced my friends to get an Xbox so we could play Halo 2 together. And I became like the cog in the wheel to get all my friends to play games with me online. And it's just, I owe that to EverQuest, really show me how cool it was to experience that.
Heck yeah.
Yep.
Cool. I didn't have I tried to get into it, but I had already played, like, I was way late to the party. I mean, I was like 6 expansions in when I finally gave it a shot, and I had already come off of, like, Final Fantasy 11 and Dark Age of Camelot and Ultima Online and all these other games where it just, to try and start a new world that was that massive, I was just like, I can't do this. I can't, no way. But man, the people that I hung out with at the time were really, really into it and grew up with it and loved it. So EverQuest was a big game.
EverQuest is the reason World of Warcraft exists.
Yep. 100%.
I remember taking screenshots of some of my friends that I met in the game. I still have those somewhere. I got to find them. But yeah, I was so into it. It was like, it was my other world, it was.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to get that deep into an MMO since then. I mean, that was like my experience.
Final Fantasy 14 is pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie.
Good.
I should play Anarchy Online. Heard they updated the graphics.
God, no. Yeah.
Once they update the graphics, I will. Yes.
They have.
Did they really?
Dark Age
Yeah.
of Camelot.
They're still terrible.
Yeah.
No.
Upgraded to 1998.
Dark Age of Camelot's great. Best
That was the
PvP
one
in any MMO that I've ever played. All right. Number ones, guys. Here we go. My number one is Final Fantasy 2/4. It's 2 on the Super Nintendo and 4 in the series. This is the game that got me into RPGs. I love this game with all my heart. This is one that I could still go back to, play over and over again, never get tired of it. And I still, to this day, go back at least once a year and play a little bit of it if I don't play the whole thing through. I've beaten it so many times. It was the first game that I played where I learned the names of the cast of characters and got to know them and loved just being on this big, massive adventure. And just having my mind blown by how rich storytelling could be in a video game. When, I've always been a reader. I loved reading books and stuff at the time, but I never got the same feeling from a video game. Video games were fun, and I loved doing it. And I could give you tons of stories about NES games and everything like that. But I couldn't tell you about characters I got attached to and stuff back on the NES, that kind of deal. But man, as soon as I played Final Fantasy 2, I was just like, I have to see what else is out there like this. And that led me to almost every other game on my list, quite frankly. And it's just mind blowing what that game did for me and what path it set me on, all the way up until Mass Effect, the trilogy came out on PS3. I was only playing JRPGs, and it was because of that. So yeah, that's my number one, Final Fantasy 2/4. Amazing game. Mark, number one.
Mark.
All right. Well, my number one is Super Mario Brothers 3.
Great game. Still.
Incredible game. You know, I played Super Mario Brothers, or is it just Mario Brothers?
Just
Brian?
Mario Brothers.
Just Mario Brothers.
It's also just Mario Brothers 3.
I had played.
Super was only added after the Super Nintendo was came out.
Well, you know what? I've played Mario Bros. I'd played some other games like the Battle of Olympus, Zelda, etc. But when I got to Mario Brothers 3, that was the game that had the polish, it had the look, it was snappy, you felt like you were in control of your character. There was just so much stuff to do. The music was incredible. It was one of those games where you could just fire it up, play for 5 minutes, play for 5 hours. It really didn't matter. You could just play it nonstop. And that was when I realized that games were for me, like, not just as a passing interest, but like I was going to play games a lot. You know, like one a year from that point on. Lean into the, yeah, but
Brian, I
that's
gotta fact check you, man.
Uh-oh.
Even
Is
on
it
the
Super?
original Nintendo, the first one is Super Mario Brothers.
Oh,
What?
well.
Mario Brothers did exist, and I thought this, but I didn't say it earlier because I wasn't 100% sure. But the original, if you ever played Super Mario 3, as Mark's talking about right now, you know how you can go at the very first level, you can push, I think, select and go into the little mini game with player 1 and 2. That was the original Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
That was the first one. Super Mario Brothers was the first game, and then there was Super Mario Brothers 2 and Super Mario Brothers 3. Yeah,
I thought they only added the Super after Super Nintendo, but I remember
that would make sense.
Right,
But as soon as you
yeah.
said that it wasn't for 3, I was like, I could have sworn Super is on the box.
SMB3.
I was picturing it in
that's
my
what we
head.
called
Oh wow! Look how wrong I am.
it. Yeah. No, this is just like it was the game.
Just
that
so the comments don't light up with other people trying to correct him.
I'm gonna comment
it's settled.
on myself.
It's done. So we're good. We got
Brian's just trying to gaslight us.
Well,
Right.
it's just I'm wrong, you know.
Oh, when it got to Super Nintendo, they did start adding Super onto like everything. So it would
yeah.
make sense.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
But sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
No, I was just basically leading to the point. My main point is this was the first game I played that had no jank to it at all.
Yeah.
Like you just played the game, it played how it was supposed to, and it was brilliant.
The secrets in this game too, like
Yeah.
were mind blowing.
Mhm.
Like the first world when you figured out how to get the flute by ducking behind the white block and then running behind the level. It's just so neat. This is the first game that I ever actually finished was Super Mario Brothers 3.
Super Mario Brothers 3 was like going from silent films to films with sound.
Yep. It's so good. It's still one of the best platformers in my opinion to this day.
Yeah.
So cool. Anything else? Anybody else on that one?
Yeah.
All
Good.
right.
Good.
Brian, number 1, sir.
Hey, my number one, it actually is, I think Adrian's number 5, I believe.
Number 5. That's right.
Yeah. Super Mario / Duck Hunt cartridge for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Go ahead, Adrian. I'll cap it off when you're done.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's on my list because it was the first video game I've ever played. And it was the one that stuck with me. I still remember exactly where I don't know where I was. I know I was at a friend's house. I don't remember who that friend was. It was a church friend, I think. I think it was maybe one of my parent or my mom's friends from church. But anyway, I still remember what the room looked like. They had a game room, and I was blown away that they had a freaking game room with a pool table and had a TV set up with this video game system. I didn't even know what the heck video games were. And I just went over to the TV. He showed me how to play it. I started playing it and couldn't believe what I was playing. You know, I was probably like 5 years old at the time. I was very young, and it just stuck with me. And I literally think that if it wasn't for Mario Brothers, I don't know that I would be as into video games as I am today.
Heck yeah.
What about
I
you?
imagine a lot of people have a similar story on that game too.
Yeah, yeah.
Brian.
Yeah, my story is the same. It's number one on my list because it is what got me into games. I'm going to date myself a little bit, but I think it was my 7th birthday, or it could have been my 6th birthday. My uncle, my dad's youngest brother, got me the NES for my birthday, and my parents weren't too thrilled about video games. I don't think they knew that they were gonna like take over my life after that. So I don't think they were like they didn't care at the time, but that was kind of like the formative experience of like, oh, this is my passion in life. It's like, oh, this is what I plan to do for until I'm 82 and can't see. But I just was so blown away by it, and I still to this day say that I am the best duck hunt player of all time who presses the gun up against the CRT monitor and shoots the ducks at point blank range. So nobody can beat my high score because I cheat.
Can I ask you both a question?
Please ask me a question.
Did either of you play the 3rd game mode, which was like the multiplayer Mario game, where you could run off the left side of the screen and come onto the right side of the screen and jump up the platforms?
That's what we were talking about with 3. That's at the beginning of 3. That's not in the first one.
Oh, was it in the 3rd one?
Yeah, that's when you push select on the first level in 3.
The first
Mario
there was a selectable.
That's regular Mario Brothers.
Well, let me explain. So in the second level of Super Mario Bros. 1, it's the that level, the cave level. You can take a lift up above the bricks at the very top, and you can run all the way to the end of the screen.
That's not what he's talking about, though.
No. But this is probably what you're thinking of, and you go down, you drop down, and there are 3 pipes that you can skip worlds.
No, I know what he's talking about.
He's talking about the original Mario.
He's talking about Mario Brothers. Yeah, the original Mario Brothers, the very first game. Yeah. I actually have a copy of it on Atari.
Nice.
But it's in Super Mario Brothers 3, the very first level. If you have 2 players going, you just push select. It'll warp you into that, and you just play it. Oh. And it's literally like, because you've got the pipes on the top on each side, and the enemies come out and they fall down. You've got the POW block in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey Mark,
I know what you're talking about.
Hey Mark, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Did you ever play the multiplayer version of Mario when you're playing Mario 3?
Apparently I did, and I forgot which game it was in.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, that's a long time ago. I was like very young.
For sure. And most people don't play Mario Brothers 3 for that. So I don't blame you. But yeah, it's in 3.
I kind of liked it though.
That was neat. Yeah, it was a fun little game for sure. Cool. Adrian, number 1, man.
Okay. My number 1 is Resident Evil. Resident Evil, and I've gushed about this game multiple times. I don't feel like I need to go into too much detail about it, but I do want to talk about why it's so personally influential to me. It was the first game that it's the first time that I remember it being a family experience. So it was one of those, and I've told this story before, I'm sure. But it was a game that my parents were totally into, and they weren't into video games at all. So the fact that they were so into watching me play this game was just super impressive to me. Also, it was just they'd never seen a game so in depth with story and exploration and horror elements and all these different things that it was new to all of us. So my dad every night would make me play Resident Evil, and I remember enjoying the game, but I thought the tank controls sucked, and I thought the gameplay was difficult and it was scary. I mean, to me, it was a scary game. I'd never played a game like this up to this point. So it was to the point where I was having like nightmares and stuff about zombies and being stuck in a mansion. And I was like, my dad would still like every night. Okay, is it time to play Resident Evil? Are you ready to play now? Like, are you done?
Forcing him to play it because he was just like, no, you got to finish it. We're invested now. Sorry. Like,
Yeah.
but I'm having nightmares.
It was crazy, man. And but I was like, yeah. And then it reached a certain point about midway through the game where I wasn't too scared of it anymore. And I was kind of getting into the controls and I was feeling it. And it literally, became our nightly thing to sit down and play this. And we played through it. And I remember my dad, my mom, and my siblings, they would tell me like what to do, like go into that room, hey, check behind that painting. Why didn't you check that? It became a family experience. And
that's so cool.
I will always remember that. Yeah, I will always remember that connection that I had with my family at that time. And that's something that I try to incorporate with my family now, because I know how important it is. And with my son and how much he loves playing Fortnite and stuff. And I wasn't really into it. I didn't really want to play it, but I just know that the impact it made on me. So I wanted to make sure to pass that on to him as well. And I got into it. And so now we're Fortnite buddies, and it's a lot of fun. So I owe that family connection to Resident Evil.
Yeah. Cool.
That's my number one.
Yeah, I think that does it. So those are our top 5 personally influential video games. We've been sitting here for a while, guys.
Yeah.
Dude, what a podcast.
So how does it feel to be in front of you guys are not used to being in front of a camera, but how does it feel to be recording something again?
Missed it,
Feels
man.
okay, man.
Yeah, honestly, missed it. It was once you started linking us those old TFN episodes, I was like, man, I miss recording those.
Yeah.
I do have a question for all of your viewers and listeners.
Sure.
Do any of you have a friend who plays 1 or 2 video games a year? Do any of you have a friend who, when they're in Overwatch with you, they seem to be doing nothing? They don't understand how to play their character role. Do you have a friend who, when they play Star Citizen with you, they have to ask you the keybinds every time they get in their ship? I want to tell you something. Howdy, y'all! That's me.
Hey,
Good for
you should have said if you have a friend who's in Star Citizen asks you how if Aphorite's worth it every time you get to an Aphorite node.
Just go easy on them is my point.
Gotcha.
That was a perfect setup, Mark. I love it. That was awesome.
That was good. Oh man. Yeah, we love, I think I speak for all of us when I say we love doing it, but it was just like I was asking these guys for a time. I was asking them to give up pretty much every Saturday to come out and record. And I tried to make that easier by having us come every other Saturday, but then record 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So it was still like, pretty much the entire day that we were losing. And I just felt bad for doing that to them every single time. And so we went back to 1 every other week. And then eventually, with all the changes in real life and everything like that, it was just taxing. But it definitely was not for lack of, having fun, because we definitely did. Mm-hmm. Mark had a podcast he was doing a while ago where the 3 of us got back on with our friend Tank as well. And we kind of did a little small reunion thing. And it's always good to get you guys back on. And we talk every freaking day anyways. And Adrian, I would assume now you can attest that the way you hear us on the show is pretty much how we are and how we talk to each other outside of it.
Yeah.
So
it's a little, I must admit, it's a little bit hard to follow you guys. You're fast. And the thoughts that come out quickly. And if you don't miss the context, or if you don't understand the context, you're lost.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
That's me.
I just sprint at the top. I just sprint word wise at top speed, and like Michael Scott, I just start a sentence, and then I hope I find my way home at some point.
That's right along the way. Yep.
Yeah, I hope I catch a poignant moment at that point. But if not, it just comes off of ramblish gibberish, and then Mark goes
ramblish gibberish. Yes, that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
Oh man. It was great to have you guys on again. It was good talking to you.
Absolutely.
In
Yeah,
this
thanks for
setting.
having us.
So,
I will say, like, I want to thank you guys a lot for coming on. It was quite an experience to meet you all. First of all, like I said at the beginning of the show, I listened to almost every episode. It was a major influence on me for getting started in podcasting. So
Adrian and I met because we did that show. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So it was a little bit surreal, I'll be honest, to do this. So I really appreciate you guys.
Well, I know I can speak perfectly for Mark when I say we're now best friends with you, Adrian. So we'll be talking
Yes.
more often.
Awesome.
You have to
Awesome.
get Star Citizen now. It's
Yeah.
basically
You
required.
know,
Well, here's the thing.
Actually, maybe not.
Maybe
I
just like look at some stuff.
I kind of feel obligated at this point. I'll probably
I mean, you
get it.
can, but
You
just know
can.
that we warned you that it's very
Yeah.
buggy.
Yeah.
So, but I think, and I think I speak for both Adrian and myself when I say, if you guys ever have a topic you want to just come and talk about or something like that, you're
Yeah.
more than welcome to join us, and just hang out, something like that. So, I'd love to have you back at some point.
Yeah,
for anything.
definitely. But just being able to hang out with the boys and talk about games, that's what I live for.
For sure.
I told people at work Friday, I said, what do you, they always say, what are you doing this weekend? And usually I'm just like, you know what I'm doing. I'm going to play video games all weekend. But this time I'm like, yeah, I got a podcast. And they're like, oh my goodness, something else besides video games. And then
Well, I'm going to do that too.
I'm like, well, it's a podcast about video games. And then like, okay, well, so yeah, it was fun.
Oh man. Cool guys. Thank you so much. Adrian, you got anything to plug?
Nope, not right now.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
If you do want to hear more on my thoughts about E3, I have videos up on my channel. Especially, I encourage people to go watch the Dear Square Enix video that I put up last week. It is honestly, like, I get kind of real with it. And I, when I was filming it, I did almost kind of get a little bit worked up, like choked up. Because I felt really sad as I was saying what I was saying in the thing. So just go check that out. And especially if you're a Square Enix fan in any capacity, I encourage you to go check it out and share your thoughts with me. Let me know what you're thinking. Once again, thanks guys. Really appreciate you coming on. Mark, Brian, yeah. This is it's just a little surreal for me because it's like it's been so long since we've done this.
Dude, it feels so good though.
Someone's got to say it.
What?
You know, the classic sign off.
Oh, we
What
will.
is it,
We
Mark?
will at the end. That's what we always say
good.
at the end.
Oh, good.
So yeah. With that, this is the Pixeled Perspective signing off. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you're watching the video portion of this, if you're listening to the audio version, then you can hop on over to Game Room Revival, the video portion, which has the videos that I was just talking about. Also look for an announcement sometime in the future about the video Mark was talking about, his film that we mentioned earlier on the show. And I will say something about that. Check us out on Twitter. All the links will be on the channel. Again, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. You know the drill if you've ever been to YouTube, which I would imagine most of you have. With that, my name is JJ.
My name is Mark. Are we all doing it?
Yeah. Wait. I didn't tell an order though, so just pick. Go for it.
Go for it. All right.
Go, Adrian.
He did, but I'll say it again. I'm Adrian.
My name is Mark.
Hey, hi.
Every
And
time.
I'm Brian.
Even back in the day. And Mark, you know what? Since you brought it up, what should they do, sir?
Keep on gaming.
That's right. Thanks a lot for watching. Adios.